Hi everybody, we had a great game today. Played Chessable Masters this year between Praggnanandhaa and Magnus Carlsen. Praggnanandhaa, I just call him Prago because it's much easier to say Prago than his real name. So he's an Indian chess grandmaster, a chess prodigy. He's the 5th youngest person ever to achieve this title of the Grandmaster. He had the white pieces. He started with e4, e5 from Magnus, knight f3, knight to c6, knight to c6 from Magnus, bishop to b5 from Prago, a6, bishop to a4, knight to f6, d3, bishop to c5, c3, b5, he removed that bishop to b3, d6 for Magnus, and a bishop to g5. The opening used in this game is Raul Lopez. h6 from Magnus, kicking the bishop to h4, and we have bishop to b6. a4, rook go to b8. He could play g5, but instead of that he played rook to b8. E takes b2, e takes b5, and we have a knight to a3, g5, bishop to g3, nothing crazy in this position, knight to a5, ducking the bishop, and he removed bishop to c2. b4 from Magnus, and we have c takes b4 and knight to c6. He played bishop to h4, pinning that knight. So he removed the pin with move of bishop to d7, and we have a knight to c4. Better maybe was to play knight to c2, but we have knight to c4. Knight takes b4. We have exchange of bishops. Bishop takes bishop, knight takes bishop, and we have a castle kingside from Prago, castle kingside from Magnus. Knight takes bishop, and rook takes bishop. This correct move. Much less strong is bishop takes. Knight takes knight. We have rook takes bishop. Magnus chose a correct move. d4. We have knight to c6, rook to c1, and knight takes d3, bishop takes d3, and e takes d4, and queen takes d4 from Prago. Knight go to c5, rook from c to d1, knight to e6, attack that queen, he moved queen to c3, f6 from Magnus, and we have f4, immediately try to open the game. And Magnus took a lot of thinking from this f4 move, and he decided to play the queen to e7. Prago also think a lot from this move b4, and he played this b4 move. I think the idea behind this move is to prevent a knight to go to that a c5 square. Rook to b8 from Carlsen, and we have f5. Prago can also play in this position pawn takes g5, pawn takes g5, and he had a great game. Instead of that, he didn't want to open up the position. He chose to kick that knight to that defensive d8 square, and after rook to d4, knight to f7. Idea is to put knight to e5, rook to c4, and Prago's idea is to tripling up and put a lot of pressure in this c7 pawn. So first move from Magnus is to defend rook to b7, rook to c1, tripling that pressure on that pawn, and we have rook to b8. h4 from Prague, g takes h4 and bishop takes h4, knight to e5. After this move we have a lot of exchanging. He attacks this rook, and as I said, we have a lot of exchange. Rook takes that pawn at c7, rook takes rook, queen takes rook, queen takes queen, rook takes queen, and we have rook takes b4. And from this position, the position is equal. White if you think that white have a free pawn, he cannot capture this pawn because it's a poison one. If he capture this pawn, first response is check with b1, and after king move to f2, you have a deadly fork which forks king and this bishop, and after king move example to f3, you had 3 pieces, and it's a free win for black. That's why in this position you cannot capture this pawn. Instead of that, Prague play rook to e7, d5, and we have a king to f1, d takes e5. Now you can capture this f6 pawn, and Prague did that. Knight go, and next move from Magnus is simply disaster move. He play knight to g4. It's absolute blunder, and he immediately starts swelling and cursing himself. And after this move he realized what he had done and immediately resigned the game. Why Magnus resigned the game? I think it's obvious. Of this next move from Prague, rook to g7 check, and after you move your king, you lose that lonely knight on g4. I don't know why Magnus played this bad move. He had a lot of time on his watch. The correct move in this position is knight to d3, and from this position he had a great game, but he didn't play d3. He played knight to g3, blunder, and after this move Magnus Carlsen resigned. Again he lose from young Indian Grandmaster Prague. Have a nice day. I will inform you about game from this tournament. See you next time. Tell me what you think about this game. See you.